Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. It is going to be one that I did last year, and this video was inspired by Kelsee Briana J, so I will have her video as well as her channel linked down below. I don't know if she's done it for 2019 or like done it this year, but I know she did it last year. She brought me great inspiration, and I remember doing that video and thought it was really fun and wanted to do it again this year. So today I'm going to be talking to you about popular makeup releases from 2019 that I decided to skip and pass over. Now, I was on a low buy for 2019, meaning I was doing my best to pass over and skip as many new releases as possible, but me being me, I'm really bad at skipping over things that excite me. So today I have quite a few different new makeup releases or past new makeup releases to share with you guys that I decided to pass over and the reasons why. So if you're interested, then stay tuned. But first, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do post videos 5 days a week. So if you have fun on my channel today, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go and hitting that red subscribe button. That's how you subscribe. If you're interested, hit the subscribe button before you go. But other than that, let's just get into the video. But first, I think I might go make a pot of coffee. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my coffee brewing. You may also hear my space heater in the background. If so, I do apologize. It's just very cold. Do you see the snow behind me? Do you see? It is currently snowing right now. And, ooh, are you guys interested in the weather in Minnesota right now? It is, not too bad. It's 19, but anyway, let's talk about some popular makeup releases from 2019 that I decided to skip over. Let me get to all of my photos. Okay, so we're gonna start with the most recently released in 2019, so like the closest to 2020 that released, and then move our way towards like the beginning of 2019. So the first launch that I want to talk about that I ended up skipping, and I was very convinced I was going to buy this, but then like the time came and went and I was like, meh, probably don't actually need this. And this was the Conspiracy palette, I think, or was it just like the whole launch was called the Conspiracy launch? It was the collaboration between Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. I have not been the biggest Jeffree Star fan until I watched the Shane Dawson and Jeffree series, and honestly, regardless of like some of the comments and horrible things that Jeffree has done, I truly just find him to be a very interesting person, and there's no doubt, like, again, regardless of like all of the horrible things he said and done, I'm not like making that right, his mind for business is truly something that inspires me. There are other aspects of Jeffree that don't, but I do find him to be a very interesting person when it comes to the business side of things, because I just think he's done incredible things as far as building a brand, building a business, building a sustainable business, and that is something that I can admire from him. Not to say like I'm overlooking some of the other things and other controversies surrounding him, but I truly do admire what he's done in terms of building a brand and building a business. And on top of that, I do just really like Shane Dawson. I thought that their docu-series was very, very interesting. So I'm not gonna lie, I really did want to pick up the Controversy palette. Now, when I saw the inside of the palette, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, probably not gonna get the most use out of this. And then it instantly, I believe, like sold out, and I know they've restocked, etc. But after the excitement had kind of died down, I was like, okay, like I really don't need to buy this. So I'm not going to. I saved that money. Yay me. But that is definitely like that's definitely one of the launches. I feel like that was one of the biggest launches within the beauty community in 2019, and I did decide to pass over that one. Again, I really enjoyed watching the docu-series, and I think it was really fun to watch. You learned a lot, or I personally learned a lot just about the business side of things, which was really fun. Again, the inside of the palette, not really my jam. I don't need any more liquid lipsticks, anything like that. So I did decide eventually to pass over the entire launch, but that is definitely something that did have my attention. Patrick Ta ended up launching his brand in 2019, and I believe it started with like the body shimmer, and there was like a fan, and there was like a spray highlighter and the shimmer, and none of that off the first launch really intrigued me. Now he has since come out with new products. I believe I lied. I did purchase a Patrick Ta lip gloss. Whoopsie daisy. I did purchase a Patrick Ta lip gloss, but aside from that, everything else from the launch I decided to pass over, and I feel like people were just so excited about Patrick Ta launching his own brand. A lot of people picked up like the fan and the body glow, etc. He has also released blushes, which do still have my attention. In fact, I was in Sephora today and again swatched them. I've swatched them many times, considered purchasing them many times. I'm trying to restrain. I don't need any new blushes, but Patrick Ta in general, with the exception of that one lip gloss, decided to pass over in general. The big point I wanted to make is I passed over the first initial launch of like the all over body glow, the fan, the like weird spray highlighter. Just wasn't really my jam. I'm really excited to see what else he comes out with. I know he's also come out with lip liners. I haven't heard much at all about the lip liners, good or bad. I've heard really good things about the blushes, so those still, like, I still have my eye on the blushes. I could definitely see myself purchasing a blush in the future, but overall Patrick Ta, again with the exception of that lip gloss, which I do really enjoy, I skipped in 2019. Ooh, this was a tough one for me to skip, but the Pat McGrath quads that released for the holidays, I ended up passing over all three of them, and I'm not gonna lie, all three really had me intrigued. I kept hearing really, really good things about all of them. Mel Thompson is so good at selling me on things, and there were multiple times I was watching like her ranking videos, just her reviews, her first impressions, and every time I was like, I'm gonna get one of these quads. There was a time where I had two $25 rewards to Sephora, and I was like convinced I was going to get one of these quads, but they were either sold out or it was like that brief time where they weren't on the Sephora website. And then when they came back, it was just like $65 is so expensive for 4 shades that I just could not bring myself to do it. I did end up purchasing the bronze, I think it's the Bronze Seduction, the 10-pan palette from Pat McGrath this year, so I felt like because I purchased that, I didn't need one of these quads. The one with like the blue, purple, and green, like the really unique one, really had my attention, and then Mel really had me sold on like the more neutral one, but I passed over them. We're in the clear. I don't foresee myself buying these. There were other items that came out in this launch, like the lipsticks, but the lipsticks honestly just don't interest me really whatsoever. I feel like I don't hear that great of reviews on the Pat McGrath lipsticks, especially for $38. Like, I'd rather just not, especially when my lipstick collection is like already overflowing and just way too abundant. I don't feel the need to purchase any more lipsticks, but these were one that really had my attention. I felt like they were a really popular release at the end of 2019, and I decided to skip over them. Okay, this is really funny that this popped up because I actually just purchased this today, as a matter of fact. But in 2019, I did skip over the ColourPop Pretty Fresh collection, both the hyaluronic acid as well as the primer, both the hyaluronic acid tinted moisturizer, the setting spray, as well as the primer. I was in Ulta today. They had the hyaluronic acid, what am I thinking? They had the tinted moisturizer, and I'm looking for a replacement for my Laura Mercier tinted moisturizer because I love that thing, but it's so expensive. $47 for a tinted moisturizer just seems like such an astronomical price to pay, and this has always had my attention. Now, I did skip it in 2019 because, I don't know, something about ordering off of the ColourPop website just doesn't get me excited. I'd rather just order from Ulta. ColourPop shipping sometimes can just take forever, and I like to get my Ulta points, if I'm being honest. So that is the main reason that I skipped it. There were times that I went to ColourPop, had it in my cart, was really interested in the spray as well because I know Kathleen Light spoke really highly of that. Also had that in my cart, but didn't purchase it in 2019. In January of 2020, I did go ahead and pick up the tinted moisturizer, so yeah. Next up, I have all 3 of the Norvina like volume palettes, like the volume 1, 2, and 3, the purple, blue, and orange. All the pictures that I'm going to post you guys, I am taking from the Trend Mood Instagram, so I will have her Instagram account linked down below. I am not gonna lie, for a while I thought I was gonna buy the orange one. I don't know, there was something about the orange one that like really drew my attention. I felt like it gave the most variety of colors and also like offered a variety of colors that I felt like I could possibly make work from day to day. And then seeing the purple one in store, I was also very, very interested in the purple one. It looks beautiful, but these are $65 and they're huge too. I believe they're 25 pan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 25 pan eyeshadow palettes, which I typically prefer nothing over like 12 to 15 at the max. I'm really digging like pocket palettes or like really small, like easy to travel with compact palettes. Like a good 9 pan eyeshadow palette is like my jam these days. So the thought of having a big bulky 25 pan eyeshadow palette just wasn't about that life. Now I will say ABH had a really good Black Friday deal where you could get the volume 1 Norvina with like I think all 5 of her loose glitters for like a really good deal, and I almost caved and purchased that, but decided to restrain, and restrain I did. And I don't foresee myself purchasing any of these in the future. I don't see myself buying these ever. They did just announce the ABH Amrezy 16 pan eyeshadow palette, which has my attention, but I'm really gonna try and hold back and not purchase that one either. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the new Amrezy announcement. I'm very curious to hear about that. But yes, I did pass over all 3 of the ABH Norvina volume palettes in 2019. Next up, I wanted to talk about the ColourPop monochromatic palettes, and I skipped over every single monochromatic palette with the exception of the peach palette. The peach one I was very, very interested in. Another one that I was really interested in but didn't end up purchasing is the Lilac You a Lot. It looks so beautiful and I could see myself purchasing this one in the future, but overall I was interested in the monochromatic palettes that ColourPop was releasing, but the thought of continually having to make a ColourPop purchase and then you have to be like over the $30, and I was on a low buy and trying not to spend that much, so I would have felt like I was just like adding things to my cart just to add to my cart. So I skipped over quite a bit from ColourPop this year. In fact, I think that peach palette I got it with like a blush or something. I think those were the only 2 ColourPop things that I purchased in 2019. I may have gotten like a lip product possibly at the end of 2019. I can't remember. It must have been at the end of 2019. But I purchased that at Ulta. So for the most part, I skipped over all of the ColourPop monochromatic palettes. And then speaking of ColourPop, I also skipped over the So Jaded palette that they did in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. Now this is one that was in my cart multiple times, and I would like go to my cart and I would be almost ready to purchase it, and I'd be like, no, something would hold me back. Again, this is a 30 pan eyeshadow palette, so it's really large, really bulky, and even though like there's many beautiful colors that were really calling to my like attention from this, I just wasn't sure how much use I would actually get out of this, even though I think that there's a lot of wearable shades, especially wear to work shades, which is always something I'm looking for out of a palette. I just hate reaching for bulky palettes. I have my Jaclyn Hill like 35 pan eyeshadow palette from Morphe that I never reach for, even though it is good quality and I do like the palette. I just never reach for it because I hate pulling out bulky palettes. It's just not my jam anymore. So I did pass over the So Jaded palette. I still like really think that this is beautiful. I've seen so many beautiful looks created from this palette, and I wouldn't be mad if this somehow like came into my collection, but I also just don't see myself purchasing this one. I'm happy with many of my other ColourPop palettes, and I just feel like I don't need this one, so I did decide to skip over this one in 2019. Next up, I have the Urban Decay Honey palette on my list, and this is one when the teasers came out, me, like everyone else, I was like, okay, like that looks like the most boring palette ever, even though I really love neutral browns because I can wear them to work. I was like, nope. But then all the reviews came out and everyone was speaking so highly of this and doing some really beautiful, kind of unique, especially unique for like a bronzed palette, like a bronzy brown palette. I felt like I was seeing a ton of really unique looks out of this, and this really caught my attention. But I was trying to limit the amount of palettes that I was purchasing in 2019. Now I did fail at that, but I was trying to keep that in mind. I was trying to keep in mind that I ended up getting the Naked Reloaded palette and just didn't really love that one. So in the grand scheme of things, I think I would have gotten some good use out of this palette, but I don't think that this is a palette that my collection just absolutely needed. So I did go ahead and pass over this one in 2019 as well. Okay, I think we just have a few left. This next one was so hard for me to pass over, and still I'm really struggling to not purchase this one, and this is the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. Now, I have mentioned in a video past that I went into my Sephora, wasn't expecting this palette to be there, grabbed it immediately, was gonna buy it, and then I was like, I really don't want to be spending this kind of money right now. The Natasha Denona Mini Gold palette was also there at the time, so I swatched the green shade in the mini Natasha Denona Gold palette that had like really caught my attention, and then I swatched it next to all of the shimmery green shades from the Metropolis palette that were like speaking to me, and my favorite was the one out of the mini gold palette. So I put this one back, I put the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette back, and ended up just buying the mini gold palette for $25 as opposed to $129. But I'm not gonna lie, this one just still looks so beautiful. I want it so bad. Maybe someday I'll buy it. But as of right now, it's not in my collection. Yeah, I've heard so many people talk about how great this palette is. I've heard so many people rave about it. I've seen so many beautiful looks with it, and I would be lying if I said like this doesn't still like speak to me on a level of like I want this so bad. So that was another one I skipped in 2019. If it's not as limited edition as it claims to be and continues to be available throughout most of 2020, I could see myself potentially purchasing this one in the future, if I'm being honest with you guys. A foundation that I decided to pass over this year and almost didn't. I was in store, swatched it, and I was like, maybe, but I did decide to put this back. It is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless foundation, and I'm kind of happy that I decided to skip over this one because I feel like I haven't heard that many people talk about it. I saw like the initial reviews and they were like subpar, but I feel like nobody talks about this foundation anymore, and it sounded to be a little bit more full coverage and a little bit more mattifying, which I typically prefer, like a medium coverage, more natural finish, even like a hint of dewy or like a hint of a glow. So I feel like this just probably wouldn't have been a foundation that would have suited my particular foundation needs or foundation preferences. So I am actually really happy that I decided to pass over that, especially considering it's Charlotte Tilbury. It was a higher price tag, but another one that I did pass over in 2019. Speaking of passing over Natasha Denona in 2019, I also passed over the Coral palette. Now this is a palette that I really wanted. The second I saw the teaser picture for it, I was like, yep, I'm for sure buying this. And then Samantha March purchased it and said that 2 of her shades had come shattered. She had done a few looks with them, or with the palette, and said like they were okay. And honestly, like I thought that they looked good, they looked beautiful, but then she said that she ended up returning her palette. I went in store, like swatched the shades, and I just wasn't as impressed with the swatches as I was anticipating I would be. So I decided to end up not getting this palette, and I can't say that I really regret that decision. Like, I'm not really all that sad that I don't have this palette in my possession. I feel like I have it's either the Sunrise or the Sunset palette. It's the one that's like the $65 Natasha Denona one with like the red packaging. It has a similar shade to that like purple middle shade, which is really the reason I wanted this palette. So I feel like because I have that palette, I can really dupe any look that I could have created with the coral palette. So I didn't really need it anyway, and I'm really happy that I decided to skip over this one. Two more foundations I decided to skip over. I did not pick up the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish foundation. It was like $68 or some astronomical amount. So I just felt like I did not need this. I feel like the reviews have been pretty good, but still, that's just such a high price tag to pay for foundations, especially when I like really love my L'Oreal Pro Matte and Pro Glow foundations. Like those, they nail it for me. So do I really need to be spending $68 on a foundation? Not really. I have other high-end foundations that I do really like, but this one just didn't really speak to me. Sometimes like Pat McGrath, I'm just like, okay, you're just like too expensive. I don't care how unique you are, especially when it comes to like a foundation. Like, I really don't care how like special and unique you are, Miss Old Patty Pat. Sorry if that's offensive. I just don't care. Like, I'm not going to spend $68 on a foundation. I did that once, spending $64 on the Giorgio Armani foundation, and I was like, no. $64, way too much. I believe the most I have paid now for a foundation is the Dior Skin, which is like $54, and I'm like any higher than that, like just I say this now, and then I'll probably end up buying like the La Mer foundation this year, but I'll probably be eating my words. Another foundation that I skipped in 2019, but I do plan to pick up at some point in 2020, is the Meet Your Hue foundation from Dose of Colors. I've heard nothing but good reviews on this, and I like that this one is like a little bit more mattifying, but also leaves more of a natural finish to the skin, which is something that I can really appreciate, especially on days that I go to work, that I want my makeup to last but not look super heavy and super cakey and just like super makeup-y. So this is one that I do want to pick up at some point, as well as their concealer. I skipped both in 2019, but this is one I plan to pick up in 2020. Just keeping it real. I also decided to skip over the Jaclyn Cosmetics lipsticks before we even knew about the controversy. I was looking at some shades and I was like, yeah, they're pretty, but honestly, I don't need any more lip products. And well, thank goodness, because we all know how that ended. I also skipped over her holiday like highlighter collection. No remorse, don't even feel bad about it. I don't know what Jaclyn Hill would have to release from Jaclyn Cosmetics to make me want to purchase at this point. We'll see if there's anything. Another one that really had my attention, and I was like pretty certain I was gonna buy this, but then Samantha March talked me out of this. This is the Natasha Denona, oh, what do they call this? It's the blush and highlight palette. It was like the more bronzy one. So I ended up getting the mini and decided to skip over the larger one, which I believe retailed for $55. It looked pretty, but it also is a face palette, and I don't reach for face palettes that often, so I just felt like I wasn't gonna get a ton of use out of this. And that's kind of what Samantha March had said in her review, and I really always turn to her for great reviews. We have very similar tastes in makeup, very similar skin types, so when she said, you know what, girls, just go for the mini one, I was like, you know what, girl, I'm just gonna keep my mini one and not gonna buy the $55 one. Thank you, Samantha, for saving me the money. Okay, this next one is something that I do plan to purchase in 2020 because, gall darn it, Samantha Ravindal can literally talk me into anything. I purchased the Hourglass concealer because of her, and immediately the day that she posted her video about the Bite Beauty foundation, I had to go order it. So she's been talking about the Oma Beauty like Stay Woke concealer. I passed over anything from the Oma Beauty line in 2019, which I believe the brand released in 2019. But now that I hear Samantha talking about how great this concealer is, I feel like I need it. And I just recently said concealer isn't something that like makes me like have the urge to go buy, and I'm clearly eating my words on that. Thank you, Samantha Ravendall. Thank you for that. But seriously, if it's a great concealer, thank you for that as well. And then the final product I have to mention is the Natasha Denona Viva palette. I did pass over this. There were many times I had this in my cart on Beautylish with like my after payment, so I only had to like, so I could break it into like 4 different payments, and I was like, yep, I'm gonna get this. And then I was like, no, you really don't need this, like you're trying to limit your palettes. I still hear so many great things about this, and I know I would get a ton of use out of this palette. So will this palette possibly slide into my collection at some point? Yes, possibly. But I did skip it in 2019, which is what the whole point of this video is about. So just wanted to let you know, skipped it in 2019, not sure about 2020, but there you have it, folks. And that is going to wrap up today's video talking about popular makeup releases from 2019 that I skipped over. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. What popular releases did you skip in 2019, or what popular releases were you unable to say no to? Because girl, I've been there. I have a huge collection of stuff that I purchased in 2019 that I just couldn't resist because so many people were recommending, and I'm so easy to sell to, you guys. So I went to pick up Starbucks supplies from a Starbucks because my Starbucks was out of supplies. I don't work exclusively at a Starbucks, you guys, but I work in a retailer with a Starbucks, and I oversee Starbucks. So I went to go pick up Starbucks supplies, and it was from one of my old stores. So obviously I was like saying hi to everyone, and then I wanted to like purchase a drink to like support them. And the gal who rang me up was like, oh, do you have all your Christmas shopping done? Because these cups are like $3. Girl, I didn't need any cups, but I couldn't say no. I just feel like if someone says like, girl, you need this, I'm like, yep, I need it. Let me grab my keys, let me get in my car, and I'm off to go purchase it. Trying to get better about this, but I'm not gonna lie, January has been a rough month for me as far as I've been bad at saying no to new purchases. But I'm really excited to test out some new makeup, to do some like chatty get ready with me's, like testing new makeup, stuff that I just feel like I wasn't really able to do that often last year on my channel because of my low buy. So yeah, I have a couple of hauls currently on my channel, or I have one haul that will already be up, one haul that will be coming, and then hopefully a chatty get ready with me testing new makeup. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.